A new adventure, putting demands again on the old body, but I'm heading to the hills today. Pilgrim walk is finished and completed successfully, and I loved it. This is the second of my big anticipated walks and climbs, so I better get stuck in and put some distance between the car park and Galtee More. The sun is up about 20 minutes ago, but it's behind the ridges to my right. But no doubt, as I get further into the hills, it'll start to gain elevation and illuminate the landscape. It's quite early, as I said to you. It's 9 degrees. 9 degrees, but there's a wonderful forecast for today. So today is the day to get stuck in. But I can tell you, here on the lower slopes of the Galtee Mountains, in short sleeves and shorts, it's quite nippy. Quite nippy. But I'm the only idiot so far on the side of the hills. That might change, of course, as the morning goes on. But it's a weekday, so once again I could perhaps find myself walking alone. Isn't it wonderful? Marvelous. The sun has arisen about 25 minutes ago, but has yet not gotten over the hill to my left. But the Knockmeal Downs have a blue-grey early morning mist upon them. Beautiful. The peace and the quiet again. More early morning therapy. Now, many of you out there would have no doubt climbed the Galtee Mountains. Most of you might have reached the summit of Galtee More. I've been up here, oh my goodness, since I was a small boy. I've been up here many times. I was coming here and had intentions of coming here in February, but issues prevented me from doing that. But here I am this morning. I slotted it in for today because today is going to be warm, and by the time it does get really warm, I have reached the summit of Galtee More. But now it's a gorgeous morning. I'm surrounded by sheep and gorse land everywhere as far as the eye can see. Looking down there towards the Knockmeal Downs that I scaled 2 weeks ago on my other adventure. And the place is quite peaceful and calm and has its own beauty. And as I say to you once again, nature's paintings, nature's masterpieces at this time of the day, my goodness, you cannot buy beauty, peace and quietness like this. You just cannot do it.
I remember how she taught me to fly. with a soft embrace full of sky. She believed in me, gave me eyes to see the divine. Bless the angels who come into our lives. Bless the angels who bring hope to our nights. Bless the angels who give wings to our dreams and share their light that we may run.
Eventually, here we are. The golden orb is sufficiently elevated on the horizon to illuminate a weary climber. I came up here some years ago on the 2nd of January. I don't know how many years ago, but it was on the 2nd of January, and the place was covered in snow, and it had its own beauty, but very cold. When you're on walks like this, carrying a heavy backpack, and it's all an uphill climb to begin with, well, it's an uphill climb the whole way to the summit. The weight of the backpack doesn't seem to bother anymore, but I'm carrying backpacks for years, and I really don't mind the weight, provided you have the load evenly distributed and all the straps and attachments correctly adjusted. It really then doesn't, it's there, sure enough, it's on your back, but it doesn't really bother me as such. It's a gorgeous morning now, gorgeous. This is my time, early morning, up and out. You probably have noticed that I'm using an elasticated knee brace on my right knee this morning. I've had a pinching for a few days on my right knee, and I suspect it's the cartilage. I've had it done before, and I suppose with all the walking and all the weight, with the backpack and so forth, it might need some medical attention once again, which I'm reluctant to do. 40 minutes now into the walk, into the climb, and the shadows are beginning to get lower in the valley. So we'll push on. God, it's gorgeous up here, but unfortunately there isn't any bird life that I can see. Plenty sheep. The hills are alive with the sound of sheep. Looking back down in there to County Tipperary and Cork. In memory of airmen Timmy Byrne, Tom Gannon and Dick O'Reilly, founder members of Abbey Shrew Aero Club, County Longford, who lost their lives on these mountains on the 20th of September 1976. Galtee More has an altitude of 918 meters, and I think that's around 3,009 feet in imperial measurement. So I suppose I'm going to get a breeze, which I'm now getting here as I head towards Galtee More behind me. So 918 meters. So Galtee More is the highest of the Galtee mountain range, obviously. So we'll We'll head on a bit further. I now have the sun, but I have that breeze as well. It just goes to show that climatic conditions can change quite significantly in a very short time when you're on high mountains. I'm not a lover of mountain walking, but this one I had to do today because it's been on my agenda for quite a while. So today we'll cross this one off the bucket list, as we have done in the past. Well, standing here on the upper slopes of the Galtee Mountains in County Tipperary, the sun is brilliant, but in the past 25-30 minutes there's been a real strong breeze come from the east. But we haven't put on the fleece or the long pants. We'll brave it out. We'll brave it out because it's going to be very warm, and this breeze is actually doing me a lot of good because it's keeping me from overheating. In the past 25 minutes or so, there's been quite a stiff breeze blow up. It's not cold by any stretch of the imagination, but here on this exposed mountainside, it gets around your bare legs and bare arms with ease. But we're not going to dress up to face into it. I'm going to brave it out. To be quite honest with you, this wouldn't be everybody's kettle of fish, and I know thousands of people every year come and climb the Galtees and the Knockmeal Down Mountains and Carán Tuathail, which is Ireland's tallest peak. But when you walk extensively like I do, and there's no boasting here, and if I sound I am, it's not intended. When you walk every morning, the body within a very short period of time of getting out and walking acclimatizes to the aches and the pains and the stresses that you can put it under. This is no different this morning. I find this, okay, we're trudging uphill for the last 45 minutes, but when your mind is made up that you're going to do something, the body usually follows along. Well, it is with me anyway, but maybe I'm a freak. Facing right into the sun now. But there's not a human being for miles around. And looking back down in there to the hinterland of South Tipperary, I can see my trackway where I came along for the past 45 minutes. It's desolate, but it has its own beauty. Sure does. Once again, I have to bring your attention to the privileges and benefits of walking alone. You got this environment totally to yourself. You can hear, you can see, you can take notice, you can photograph, you can stop, sit down, run, walk, sleep. There's nobody that you're accountable to except moi. Not being selfish. On the other hand, if you walk with a group, that also has great privileges, because if something happens, well, at least you have help at hand. So, when you walk alone, you just make sure you've got the phone charged up and an idea where you might be. So, up here it looks wild and desolate, and it's a wilderness in its own right. But there are pronounced and defined trackways. But if you fall and do yourself an injury, well, that's a different story. When you're on your own, so make sure you have your phone.
In every shade, when your sky is pouring down rain, love will be there.
Well, it's onwards and certainly upwards, and I'm skirting around now to make my ascent in the next half an hour to the lower slope of Galtee More, which is on my left. The breeze continues to cool me down. The pathway is rough going, so those of you that haven't been here before and not used to walking on terrain like this, be aware of the ankle. Stones are big, boulders, and when you stand, they roll. Very easy to do yourself an injury. So be careful.
Love will be there to find you. Sure as the sun, it will always shine through. Candle in the dark.
It's quite rough here now, so be careful when you get to this point. So I'll make my way over onto the heather, which is a little bit more easy to walk on. Now, of course, all this walking for the past 65 minutes is hard work, but the hard work in front of me is still to be taken on board. Now, walking across this marshy heather surface here, if that's what you can call it, in wet weather this can be quite boggy, can be very boggy. Excuse moi. But we've had a whole week, a complete week of dry weather. So even it's a spongy, it's very boggy and spongy underfoot, it's easy to walk upon. So when you come off the boulder track and get over to here, to the very bottom slope of Galtee More, it's easy going. But mind out for these bog holes and things, that people have been hurt walking through these bog holes. Just thinking there as I make my way to the base of the hill, the base of the mountain rather. Wouldn't this be a fantastic place to awake when camping in the morning? And looking down there, take a look at the vista that's down there. I'm nearly at the base of Galtee More, and the push to the summit will begin in 10 minutes time. So I might take a breather, before I attack that. I might. Well, I've arrived at the base of Galtee More, so I'm getting my strength back on board to make an ascent on this peak over my right shoulder. Now it'll be hard going for the next half an hour, but I'm up for the task. It was I decided to do this after all. Nobody compelled or instructed me to take this on. It was moi, and moi alone. What a place, and what a day to be out and enjoying it. It's onwards and certainly upwards towards the clouds. The breeze is no longer any benefit to me. For whatever reason, it seems to have suspended and gone back to bed. So now I'm in the heat of things, in the hot of things. But take a look at the vista behind me there. It is stunning, rugged, wild, peaceful and quiet. The only thing breaking the silence of nature's masterpiece this morning are the sheep and the lambs. It's hard going now, hard going, and I suspect coming down would be more difficult because it's straight down, obviously, with a lot of loose rocks and stones. I always find that going up can be hard, but coming down can be more precarious. I'm making progress. I'm not going to make a marathon and first over the line in record time out of this trek. I still have the most difficult part, but I'm approaching that now in a few moments, and then it's straight upwards. But oh man, it's just magnificent here this morning. The breeze has returned, but I've gained a few more 100 feet since I've spoken to you last, so I'm catching it now over Galtee Beag. So we continue on our way to the summit of Galtee More. A very heavy backpack, and it's behind me obviously, and it tends to pull you backwards. You take a fall here, you're going to roll for a while. So be careful, be careful. The last half an hour to 45 minutes, depending on your ability, you find it hard going. But on a day like today, it's well worthwhile, because every meter you head north and you turn around and look at the vista laid out before you, it's just incredible, beyond description. So I better get up and get moving again. Wow, that 35-40 minutes, and now there's a pretty stiff breeze blowing, and Eureka, Galtee More. As it comes into view, I'm going to be taking shelter and having a cup of tea. So I'm at the summit of Galtee More, 3,009 feet above sea level, and the last 40 minutes you have to push into the reserve energy to get here, but we are here, so I'm quite happy with that. So there we go. The summit of Galtee More, 3,009 feet above sea level. Well, I'm here at the summit of Galtee More, and there's a fair breeze cutting across from behind me now. So I hope you can hear me. So it's taken me 2 hours and 40 minutes, as I said, to get up here. But that included a lot of stopping and a lot of photography and chatting to you and doing bits and pieces, etc. So I'm here. I made it on one of the nicest days so far this summer. So at 3,009 feet above sea level, the summit of Galtee More in County Tipperary. I have to brace myself a little bit this morning now since I got up here, because the wind is quite savage, really quite savage. So I'm not going to put the drone in the air here. It's far too risky. It's far too risky. So we'll do with what we have at ground level on terra firma, and we leave the bird in the bag for the moment, okay? It's not worth it. I have 2 birds, one big and one small. They're too expensive to risk a mishap, and the cliffs are too severe for me to be climbing down, retrieving one if it gets itself into trouble. So we do with what we have on the ground, okay? Now, as if I didn't have enough walking done, I'm going to walk along the reach here for a while and extend my adventure before I partake in the lunch, which is really only breakfast time. But at the ungodly time of the morning that I got out of the lava, I think I feel peckish now. But if I open up the lunch now, I'll be without sustenance for the rest of the day. When you get up and get moving so early in the morning, you get so much done early. There's no dilly-dallying going on. I must say to you though that it's quite chilly. It's gorgeous down in the valleys by the looks of it, but up here at 3,000 feet, obviously it's going to be chilly. it's quite cool up here. It's very, very exposed now because I'm gone over to the other ridge, and it's quite cool. I'm overlooking the lake here over my right shoulder. I might put on the fleece because it's after getting quite cool, quite nippy. Reached a civilized level where it's rough walking, but it's not dangerous by any stretch of the imagination, and the ground is very, very firm underfoot because it's been a week since we've had rain. Now, I was contemplating climbing over there to Galtee More, but I won't. I'll give myself the chore I gave myself today was to go to Galtee More. I've done that elegantly, and no dramas and no damage and no accidents, so we'll keep it at that safe level. Making my way slowly down from Galtee More. Now it's absolutely stunning. Temperatures are way higher down here because that breeze is not blowing into me, so I took the fleece off again. I put it on for about 10 or 15 minutes. It was quite chilly there coming across the summit, but now it's glorious. So I'm going to take my time and savor the delights of this return to my car, which is still an hour and a half away from here. Well, when you find yourself in absolute isolation, I suppose you can expect to discover or find anything at all. So 10 minutes ago, I met a hiker like myself with his big backpack, and the only thing that he had on him was his backpack and a pair of socks and boots. So is there such a thing as a naturist, hill walker, climber? I suppose there is. Anyway, he kept his head down. I said good morning. I got no reply. I muttered something obscene under my breath, knowing me, and he continued on with his tackle in the breeze and his backpack on his bare back. Take a look at that scenery down there. Feast your eyes on what's available in the Emerald Isle. Now it's warm. It is now warm. So behind me, Galtee More. A refreshing sight this morning that was. This mountain here, unless you're up for a bit of effort, a good bit of effort, ignore it. Come up so far and then turn around and go back. This one takes a bit of effort, and you won't always have weather like today. In fact, the majority of times, and I have been up here last year, and I told you earlier on, I I was actually submerged in low-lying fog and rain, and it began with sunshine. So that's how easy you can find yourself in trouble in hills like this. Now, if you do decide to have a go at Galtee More, or walk on the Galtees, when you're coming up, remember some of the waypoints, like piles of stones, like this one coming up here now, because all these old gravel trackways, which they're only water courses really, with millions of boulders and rocks strewn around, your body is getting a ferocious jarring. But remember what you saw coming up, look out for coming back down, because all these, you can end up on the other side of a mountain and miles away from your car. So things like this, they're sort of way markers in their own right. So when you stand here now, you look up there, there could be 5 paths, there could be 2 paths, but there is one path there. It's well and truly trodden, but it's only a water course. So try and remember where you saw a pile of rocks or a wider pathway, because on your way back down, you can take off on a different pathway and end up miles from your car. So just be aware of that. Now I know I don't need to tell all you people that, but how many incidences do we hear of helicopters being called out and people getting lost, people taking a fall? I mean, it happens all the time in the McGillicuddy Reeks, and I have walked around there pretty extensively now. But look, just be aware of it, and be aware of ticks. This time of the year, and especially where there are deer, where deer might be grazing, wild deer, we're told that where there are deer and ticks, that the ticks can be quite savage and quite dangerous. The drones are okay for most wind up to a point. You'll be told by the computer that to bring your drone down, it's too gusty, too windy, and the technology is crazy on these drones, absolutely crazy, unbelievably crazy. So they nearly fly themselves. I have 2 here in the backpack, one, the bigger one, and it is just a spectacular machine with quality to die for, and I love it to bits. I've had 4 different drones at this stage, and I'm not finished buying yet, but a lot of the work I do, I can use drones on and off. So just don't forget the sun cream either. It's an essential part of the walking arsenal. And keep an eye for the ticks, and mind where you step, and have an idea where you might be, and keep an eye out for way markers like stone cairns and gates and stuff, so that when you're on your return trip to your car or whatever, that you're on the right trail, because a lot of them look the same. They're really only rough hewn, rough stone water courses.